Hi, I'm Doug Ross, editorial page editor at the Times. Here for us with this endorsement interview, we have Mike Aylesworth, a Republican running for state representative in District 11. His opponent, Mike Mears, unfortunately not able to join us. Also with us is Robert BLASZKIEWICZ, a fellow member of the editorial board and assistant managing editor. Mike, we ought to begin. You've been in politics a long time, but,
yes, I have.
But let's talk about your qualifications.
Sure. Qualifications, I think I'm very well qualified for the office because not only have I served in public office, I've served in party function also, and have a great deal of working knowledge of how things work in the legislature. Got a good background educationally. I got my master's degree at Valpo University and my undergraduate degree many years ago in a land far away and long ago at Indiana University, Bloomington. And I've worked in the political field in public service for way too long. I suppose you want to look at it that way. A long time, I suppose about 40 years altogether. And I guess I got into it because I really believe that if you're a good public servant, it's like a calling to the ministry. Only I don't equate it with the ministry, but it's a calling, something you really enjoy. And if you're honest at it, you don't ever make any money at it. And I've never made any money. You just get a salary and that's it. But you enjoy giving back to the community. Giving back is, I think, a very important aspect of why I'm in this. Both my parents and grandparents taught me that part of our citizen responsibility is to give back to your local community, and that's the way I chose to give back. Other people choose different routes. I've chose public service. So that's why I'm here.
Okay, fair enough. So if you're elected, what's the first thing you want to accomplish?
First thing I want to accomplish? Well, understand, I guess, what the issues are going to be at the legislature through the upcoming session, the fall campaign. See what's important to the district, to people, whether it's something to do with transportation in the 55 corridor, whether it's a South Shore extension, whether it's some type of tax increase or tax decrease. We'll have to sort of wait and see how that plays out. Don't know at this stage exactly yet, but since I've learned a lot about politics, you need to get close to the moment to see what's on people's minds.
Okay. We probably ought to bring up the issue that dominated the legislature this year is, of course, the constitutional amendment on same-sex marriage. Where do you stand?
I like it the way it is. I don't think it needs to be tinkered with.
Okay. But leave the law in place.
Yeah, leave the law in place.
So
That's
just to
correct.
clarify, an amendment's not needed, it's already against the law. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, personally, I don't have a problem with civil unions. I understand the semantics of the concept of marriage, and that's what gives a lot of people upset, especially in the religious community, and I agree with their philosophy, and I'm not going to get in the middle of that kind of an issue. But I don't have a problem with civil unions in the homosexual community. I think I have a strong Catholic upbringing, and we are taught to love one another, respect one another, and I have that same philosophy, and I think everyone should have the same rights and privileges.
Okay. Let's talk about economic development.
Sure.
Indiana's unemployment rate's down to 6.4%, but it's still an issue. So what do you do?
Well, you try to make it as attractive as possible. Not only do you make the tax rates low in different communities, you give opportunities in economic development to have special districts, taxing districts that give breaks and encourage people to come. And you have to roll out the red carpet and really work hard in the economic development field to reach out not only with the state economic development commission, but your local community and county economic development commissions. Your businesses are looking for that special touch, the communication. I know I've been in that line of working with businesses, and it's about building relationships and building trust. And you can't just say, well, we have the lowest taxes in the area. You have to build a relationship, and that's what's important. So you have to have a good team of people willing to do that and meet. with prospective clients that come into the area. NIPSCO's got a fine team that does that. So does the state. So we all come together to try to do that. And I've sat at the table with that with my agency to try to let them know that we're all on the same team about customer service and being welcoming into the state.
Okay. We should, you touched on transportation,
Yes.
The South Shore Extension, the Oleana Expressway. Of course, we are seeing Klein Avenue being, the bridge being replaced with a private bridge. Where do you see, how do you see Indiana meeting the transportation needs?
I think that in the future, and it's just me trying to rub the crystal ball, but you're going to see more and more pay-as-you-go toll situations, either toll bridges or toll roads, because the price of new construction has gotten so outrageously expensive. It's very difficult when the state's budget constraints to build new roads, build new bridges. It's difficult enough for INDOT to maintain what they have, let alone go to the new route. So I think you're going to see more and more of that. People may find that distasteful, but I don't find that distasteful, because you look across the state line and see what the Illinois Tollway has done. I've got a transponder. I think you guys probably have transponders for both the toll road and the tollway in Illinois, and I think it works well. They maintain themselves well, and they keep up with the costs of road maintenance and construction. Indiana fell sadly behind at the toll road because it lacked the political will to have the fares increased to where they should be, and so the revenue wasn't there. And that's why I like the concept of the private entity in a toll road or toll bridge, with of course state oversight, public oversight. We must have that.
Okay.
Much of the debate in this past session was over Governor Pence's quest to reduce or eliminate the business tax, the business property tax, and some of I think a lot of the resistance in the legislature, as legislators have to balance the budget, was how to replace those revenues.
Correct.
And do you have any thoughts on reducing taxes and how to find the revenues to keep government running?
No, I don't have any fresh ideas. All I know is that in part of my job, I spend a lot of time talking to county commissioners in an outreach and the mayor's groups in Northern Indiana Mayor's Roundtable, and their motto was replace, not erase. And that's the buzzword is, if they're going to erase that tax, the state's going to have to come up with some way to fund it. And I don't know what that is. We'll see. I'm sure that's going to be back on the front side again next session, so we'll see what kind of options come up. But I think the local governments, state and county, local governments, municipalities and counties have been stressed almost to the max as far as to what they can cut in their budgets. There's not much fat left. I'm talking to the mayors especially. So it's going to be challenging for the state. I have no magic bullet for that. No silver bullet.
We saw a study out just in the last day or two that said that Indiana ranked 22nd, as I recall, in the nation when it comes to state and local taxes. So, the question is, what services could you cut to be able to cut the taxes?
That's a good question. Depends on what people are willing to cut, and you have to ask your constituents when that proposal comes out. You have to ask, everyone involved what they're willing to give up. And I know the mayor of Goshen gave a little talk at the last Northern Indiana Mayor's Roundtable that we had. It was at Hobart a couple of weeks ago. He took that very question to his Chamber of Commerce, and he had the Chamber of Commerce take a look at what taxes they'd like to see lowered, or what services they'd like to do away with. And the Chamber came back and said they thought Goshen had done an excellent job of managing the money in tight times, and they did not want to see any further reduction in services. So I think that summed it up pretty well.
I wanted to touch on education because it was such a big topic this past session.
Sure.
Common Core, we put a halt to our involvement in Common
Yes,
Core
yes.
in favor of Indiana's own standards.
Yes.
Do you have any thoughts on that issue?
I don't have a problem with that at all. I think Indiana's standards are going to be the same as Common Core, if not a little bit higher, and I would hope they would be. And I'm a Hoosier through and through, sixth-generation Hoosier, so I'm a great believer in doing as many things for our own state with our own knowledge and wisdom and doing our own program. So I don't have a big problem with that.
The other educational issue that's been hotly debated, of course, is vouchers, allowing public school students to go to private schools, along with charter schools, the growth of charter schools. Do you have any thoughts on those topics?
I'm very positive about the use of vouchers and private schools. I think people should be given, and I've always said that in my recent political history, that people should be given a choice in education. The more choices there are, the better off the quality of the product's going to be. Because people are going to vote with their money, they're going to vote with their feet, they're going to vote with their ability to go to where they can get the best education for their children. Now, unfortunately, there are times when you have people that don't have a choice to do that, so we have to make sure that the Indiana Common School System remains as viable and as quality, producing good quality students as possible. And that's a real challenge in the inner cities. Both Indianapolis and Northwest Indiana.
It's also a challenge in funding. We've seen funds drastically cut to public schools. We've seen local school districts resort to referendums to try to get the money just to operate.
Yes.
Your thoughts on that?
Yes, I know my local school district where I live in Hebron, I think it lost by one vote.
Yes.
Four votes. Four votes, yeah, it was very close.
Yeah, it was.
And then they're going to try it again. They're going to try a little bit better job at marketing. And that's one of those things where you have the one side, a group of people that don't want to see their property taxes jacked up, but the other side wants quality education, and that's a four-star school system. They want to see it continue, so that's the tug of war. And I think it's an excellent system where the community gets to vote on it.
Okay. Pre-K is headed into a pilot program. We don't know what the 5 counties will be yet.
Right.
What are your thoughts about expanding it, and if you do, how do you pay for it?
Well, that's the challenge. I think it should be expanded statewide if it's possible, but as tight as education funds are, how we're going to pay for it is something that's going to have to be creatively looked at by the legislature, and I don't know what the answer is on that one yet. We'll have to see. We'll have to see. A lot depends, gentlemen, on the economy. If the economy strongly rebounds and gets back into its 2005, 2006, 2007 roll, then there's going to be money there coming in from the sales tax and the income tax to do those kinds of things. But as long as the economy's flat and just very slowly coming around, it's more of a challenge. So those are things we might not be able to adopt as a legislature next session. It might have to wait till 2016 until the times get better. I remember when I first got into the Governor Daniels administration as a management official, the governor said it'd be at least 2014 before the economy got back on its feet again. And we're just now seeing that to be true. So it takes a while. As deep a hole as we dug in that recession, it's going to take a while.
It is. Well, I think we're just about out of time. Probably our final question should be, what's the difference between you and your opponent?
Well, I think I have a vast quality of background and knowledge, background that leads me to be eminently qualified for the legislature. But I've been in politics long enough to know that qualifications don't make you necessarily electable. So I'd like to think between my background and ability to campaign and qualifications educationally wise and professionally, working on the environmental side the last 9 years, I'd like to think that I would be the one selected.
Okay. Well, I'm afraid that's all the time we have. Again, I'm Doug Ross, editorial page editor at the Times, with Robert BLASZKIEWICZ, assistant managing editor, and Republican candidate for state representative in District 11, Mike Aylesworth. Thank you for viewing.